Assalamu alaikum. I would love to share with you some more thoughts on how we can go about thinking through the Quran, some issues of translations, and ways in which some parts of the tradition can help us go deeper and discover beautiful implications of the nuances of the Word of God. So I wanted to start here with just the first couple of lines of Surah Alaq. Of course, you all know this. This is the very first section of the Quran to be revealed to the Blessed Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam, that he is in the Qara Hira, he is in the cave of Hira, and he is visited by the Archangel Jibreel. And Jibreel comes and he commands the Prophet, Iqra, read or recite. And the Prophet says that he is not one who reads, he doesn't know how to read. And he's squeezed a second time, read or recite. I don't know how to read. Then a third time. And then comes the revelation. Iqra bisma rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord, your cherishing, sustaining Lord, who created خلق الإنسان من علق. The God who created humanity from alaq. We're going to come back to this word alaq in just a second. Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram. Read or recite, and your cherishing, sustaining Lord is the most generous one. Most generous one. So I want to share with you the way that this usually gets translated. So here you have the contemporary translation by Abdul Halim. Iqra bisma rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord who created. خلق الإنسان من علق. He created man. We wish that he would have said humanity, since it's insan. He created humanity min alaq, from a clinging form. Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram. Read, your Lord is the most bountiful one. When you take a look at someone like Yusuf Ali, that old familiar beloved translation, proclaim or read in the name of thy Lord and Cherisher, who created man out of a mere clot of congealed blood, which is how he translates alaq, congealed blood. Proclaim, and thy Lord is the most bountiful. So all fine and acceptable translations in different contexts. And what I want to do is I would love for us to explore something a little deeper. If you have ever had an opportunity to look around different Quran translations, surely you would see the ways in which this particular word alaq becomes tied to and interpreted in light of some modern theories of embryology. This is one of the favorite pastimes of that contemporary Muslim tradition, which looks to modern science to be the arbiter of truth and the criteria by which we discern that the Quran is actually divine in its origin. There's some problematics there. The ways in which modern science is said to be the criteria by which we determine that the Quran is actually the Word of God. Very different than the way in which Muslims have traditionally read the Quran, in which we start out knowing that the Quran is the Word of Allah, and then we read it to figure out what can it help us discern about ourselves, about the world around us, about nature, and about humanity. So how else could we read this and interpret this? That's what I want us to think about today. Well, this word alaq, something that clings, something that attaches, it is used in some commentary traditions and some Sufi writings. And in particular, I want us to take a look at the way that Mawlana Rumi interprets it. These modern interpretations of the Quran are always interested in the direction of going to the congealed blood and something embryonic, as if the creation of humanity has to be understood in a primarily biological fashion. And, of course, it's reasonable to expect that there would be nothing in the Quran which would be false from the point of view of natural phenomena that we can observe. But what if the primary purpose of the Quran is not necessarily to teach us about embryology, but rather to teach us about the way in which God and humanity are connected to one another? That's actually the direction in which Mawlana Rumi wants to go. That word alaq is from that same root in Arabic of words like alaqa, which is attraction, desire, inclination. It's when the heart of one person clings to the heart of another person. It's when humanity clings to Allah. So I want us to take a look at just a couple of examples of ways in which Mawlana Rumi is interpreting this root word of alaq, of attraction. And we get this in the Masnavi, in his masterful text that is so deeply and intimately connected to the Quran. So he says at one point, تخم خدمت بر زمین می کاشتیم زان تعلق ما عجب می داشتیم. We were sowing the seeds of service, of worship on the earth, on the soil, and from that ta'alluq, right, from that connection, we were marveling. We're marveling at how it is that we do things here in this world and that has a connection to what happens to us in the hereafter. We're marveling at the connection, at the clinging of the human to the divine. کین تعلق چیست با این خاکمان چون سرشت ما بوده است از آسمان. We marvel at the ta'alluq, right? God created humanity from alaq, ta'alluq. We marvel at this connection that we have with this soil that we're working on, and this soil from which we are created and to which we will return. Since our sarisht, our nature, our fundamental being comes from a heavenly source. How is it that heavens and earth are connected? فما انوار با ظلمات چیست چون تواند نور با ظلمات زیست. Tell me, what is the relationship of lights with darkness, since we ourselves come from lights, we come from the light of God, and everything in this world is created through the light of Muhammad. How can light and darkness could ever coexist with each other? And then in another passage, he takes that notion of alaq, of ta'alluq, to talk about the connection, the clinging of the spirit and the body. The spirit and the body are not so separate. They've come to cling to each other. So he says, زان تعلق کرد با جسمی اله تا که گردد جمله عالم را پناه. God has clinged together, God has connected together the spirit with the body, so that that prophet or that friend of Allah might be a panah, a refuge for the whole world. When the body and the spirit cling together, become fused together, earth and heaven become connected together. God and humanity become connected together. And when that happens, then the whole world can take refuge in you. So, what if in light of that we come back to this revelation that is the first revelation for the Habib, for the chosen one, alayhi salatu wassalam? Read in the name of your cherishing, sustaining Lord who created humanity from love, from clinging, from bringing together the body and the spirit, created humanity from earth and heaven, created humanity from bringing the adima, depending on Hebrew or Arabic, the top level of the earth, the soil, with the nafakhtu fihi min ruhi, the breath of Allah that is breathed into us, that God creates by clinging together something of God and something of the earth. Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram. Read, and your cherishing, sustaining Lord is the most generous. What if we read the Quran as if it's not primarily something intended to teach us about embryology, about a fetus, about the congealed blood, but we think about it as the connection, the clinging, the desire, the love between the body and the spirit, the earth and the heaven, humanity and Allah. And what if that is intended to be the beginning of the divine revelation? I hope that touches your heart, inshallah. Thank you so much for listening.